Welcome back to George and Rach. Talk about stuff. We have a dog now. Well, I have a dog now. This is Willow. So we went and saw Ghostbusters, the 2016 cut version of it all, the women's one. It's been a few hours. What do you think? You remember anything?
Yeah, no, I remember stuff. I think it was we'll rate it. I like to rate things from 1 to 10. It's a solid 6.75.
6.75.
It wasn't quite a 7. It was good.
So 3 out of 5 stars.
My biggest problem was with the whole female cast, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I didn't have a problem with them, but with what they're trying to do.
Right, which I missed completely. I was too busy being like, you're doing Ghostbusters wrong. Not because they're women, because you're doing it wrong.
And I never saw the original Ghostbusters, I'll be honest, so I don't have anything to base this off of.
Right, which we should do at some point. Not for the show, but just a good movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, before the movie came out, a self-proclaimed, self-labeled uber-feminist asked me what I thought of the movie. And my response very tactfully was, those women are funny.
They are. No.
And now that I've seen the movie, my take on it is very tactfully, those women are funny. Everything else is kind of not so much. Okay, so all the cameos are there for those of you who saw the first Ghostbusters, grew up with the first Ghostbusters. Everybody's back who's alive. And Harold Ramis, who is one of the original 3 Ghostbusters as well, there's a bust of him in the background.
I saw you. Yeah, you laughed at that.
Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
By the way, spoilers throughout. If you haven't seen Ghostbusters yet, or you care, or whatever, this is the one time I'm going to say it right up front. Spoilers. We're going to talk about all the things, spoil the jokes, spoil the plot, spoil the everything. So, everybody's back. Bill Murray's back in like probably the most extended cameo. He has 2 scenes. He plays like a...
He's a skeptic.
a debunker. He doesn't believe in ghosts. He gets thrown out of a window, and I guess he dies. We don't really see what happens.
Oh, he must have died, George.
It was on the second... I don't know. A ghost gets him. Dan Aykroyd shows up near the end as a cab driver. And he literally says at one point, like, I ain't afraid of no ghosts. And that made me want to punch myself in the face.
Why?
Because I don't like winky-eyed nods to the original.
That's clever how they built it in.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Not at all. No. It's similar to, like, okay, you ever see the Casper movie with,
Yeah. Devin Sawa?
Oh, he is in that fucking movie. He's Casper, that's right. Anyway, it's Bill Pullman.
Of course I've seen
Bill
that.
Pullman and Christina Ricci.
Oh yeah, Christina
So
Ricci.
there's lots of celebrity cameos in that movie too. And at a certain point, when they realize the house is haunted, Dan Aykroyd shows up in full Ghostbusters regalia.
Really?
Yeah, and he comes running out of the house down the stairs, and he stops Bill Pullman, and he's like, Bill Pullman's like, so what are you gonna do? What happened? And he goes, who are you gonna call? And the house goes, woo, and he's like, someone else, and then he runs off.
I never got that.
That was also painful.
I never knew about that.
Sigourney Weaver shows up in the end credits. It's one of those movies that like ends, and then the next 5 minutes is more movie for a while, with like little snippets of what everybody's up to since the climax. Sigourney Weaver shows up there. She plays the mentor to the best character in the movie, who is Kate McKinnon, as what's her name?
McGlelligan.
No. Rockansky?
Nikansky?
Hoff something?
Hoffman. Hoffman's McGlelligan.
Holtzman.
Holtzman.
So Kate McKinnon is the best part of the movie. We'll get more on her later. But she is the total techno dweeb. Picture like Egon, who is the dorky, sciencey guy from the first one, but like way more into what she does, very passionate. A touch of like personality disorder, not that she doesn't like people, but that she just doesn't relate to people in the same way that most people do.
Yeah.
Total like
very technical.
Total techno geek, very passionate, has an excellent karaoke moment in the movie. Very fun. At the end of the movie, they reveal Sigourney Weaver is her mentor. It's like, this is my mentor. And Sigourney Weaver shows up with her hair all done up like Kate McKinnon.
What was Sigourney Weaver's role in the first Ghostbusters?
We'll get to that when I start comparing them beat for beat.
Oh, that'll be a fun conversation for me.
Yeah, Annie Potts is the receptionist in the first one. She shows up as like a hotel manager. That was fine, I guess. That was a little cute thing. The only one who didn't show up was Rick Moranis, who, I miss Rick Moranis in general. In case you didn't know, his wife died. He had kids, so he kind of took a step back to be like, I'm going to be a dad.
Good for him.
Which is admirable, but it's been a while now, and I'm like, those kids are grown up. Go back to being funny, you Canadian bastard.
Oh.
And apparently he was asked about it.
So mean to
I'm not at all, I'm
Canadian.
just making a joke. I like him a lot. I love that guy. Dude, fucking... Everybody out there, you too, but you won't. Everybody on the internet, go watch Strange Brew. Strange Brew is fucking weird and awesome.
Hey, there's a coffee shop in Austin called Strange Brew.
Right on. So I love Rick Moranis. he apparently was interviewed somewhere about like a possible Ghostbusters 3 or maybe being involved in this Ghostbusters, and he had this wonderful, perfect like Rick Moranis kind of quote where he was like, "I'm just choosing about what I do. It's a commitment. I have to be away from my family. You know, I'm gonna probably be in a new city, so I don't commit unless I see a script and I know what the movie is." And I told whoever that came to produce, approached me about the movie that I need to know what my part is and what it's going to be. I don't just be like, "Hello, I was in the movie," and then he never heard from anybody again. So. Those are all the cameos. We got the, I ain't afraid of no ghosts bit.
You forgot one
Well, okay, there's one more cameo, because apparently it's 2003, right? Like, what the fuck?
2003?
Well, he was cameoing and stuff around about then. That's when the Osbournes was on. And,
Ozzy Osbourne has one line.
It wasn't like a reference to the first movie.
It was nothing.
It was nothing. Like, Ozzy Osbourne shows up.
It was, Sharon! I think I'm tripping again! That's what he said.
I know, but like again, in an Austin Powers movie, sure. In Scary Movie 2, sure. In Ghostbusters circa 2004, fine. Has he been relevant for like a decade and a half?
I don't think so. That was so random.
Oh my god.
How much money do you think like he paid to be in that movie?
I don't
Because I can't imagine someone paid for
I don't know. Maybe he's a friend with a producer or something. Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea what the fuck he's doing in that movie. Anyway, so that's all the cameos. They're mostly just like harmless, but like groan-inducing. Because the times this movie was at its best, for me anyway, having grew up with the originals, when it wasn't just doing the original Ghostbusters, when it was just its own thing. So anytime it was blatantly referencing the original, either by a plot point, a line of dialogue, or a cameo, it was like, fuck you, movie.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? And that started early on, where before, the same thing, three women get together. They're going to start a business busting ghosts. And they're like, "No, people need us. Here, check this out." And they go to a message blog. And the first comment is like, "Women can't bust ghosts." And it's like, well, they reference that whole thing. Because fuck you. Anybody out there who didn't watch this movie because women, stop watching, kill yourself. Don't kill yourself. That's a mean thing to say on the internet. But fuck you. Women are funny. Anyway, they reference that whole thing. But also the next comment is like, "Hey, I'm over here and I need help. I really need you guys. If you guys are for real, I need some help." And Melissa McCarthy's like, "See, this person needs help, and she needs us because there's nobody else. I mean, she needs to call someone. Who is she gonna call?" And then behind them on the TV, you hear, "Ghost Jumpers!" Oh.
Why did it say Ghost Jumpers on the TV?
Because, so it was it's like one of those like like a reality show about ghosts.
Like the ones that I used to watch all the time.
So, side note, Rachel believes in ghosts.
I do believe in ghosts.
I do believe in spooks. I do believe in spooks.
I know what I've seen, and...
Yes. Different, that's a whole other thing.
You can believe me or not.
So, who's she gonna call? Ghost Jumpers! Literally had to fucking facepalm on that one. That one hurt. Because at that point in the movie, we're only like 10 minutes in, and they were sort of doing their own thing.
That's it?
Roughly, that was like right when, that's the first or second time that those characters were in together. So the movie opens up exactly the same way as the first one does, except the first one opens up at a library, and a lady gets scared.
Okay.
This one opens up at an old colonial house that's restored. And I'll admit, wasn't a cameo, it was probably just a little bit of fun stunt casting, but the first actor we see in this movie is Gabe from The Office. And I was happy to see him there, hey, it's that guy. And the first joke of the movie made me laugh, and I'm gonna not say it very well because the writing wasn't very good, but at the time, I was a little drunk, and it was a good joke. He's talking about, so this is the oldest house in New York that's been restored outside and inside. It's the same as it was back in the 1930s. In fact, outside they have an anti-Irish fence. That did make me chuckle.
Right over my head.
So they didn't like the Irish very much in New York back in the day. They were the Mexicans of the time.
People don't like Mexicans.
No. That's why we're gonna build a wall.
I live in a nice little bubble here in Austin.
FYI, the RNC is happening right now, and we're choosing to talk about Ghostbusters instead. Because...
Fuck yeah, we are. How the hell would we
That's way scarier than Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So that's that's beat for beat the same, but fair enough. You got to establish that there's ghosts. That's fine. He gets spooked by a ghost instead of the librarian. Then we meet Kristen Wiig, and immediately I was like, she's not charming. I don't like her character, and she's bland.
She's the worst character. Why?
She's got nothing. She's no passion for her. There's nothing that sets her apart.
And herein starts my whole problem with the feminine part of this movie.
Right.
We're supposed to be celebrating the fact that all these women are leads in this movie, and yet there's still every single stereotype about women you could think of. They did it, except I was talking about
no chocolates.
Okay, they didn't at least self-deprecate with sexualism or whatever.
Not about each other, no. There was never like, you're such a slut or anything like that.
Yeah, well, they didn't even talk about their own sexuality. Like, there was nothing sexy about it, right?
No, but Kristen Wiig's, I guess her
that
most...
was so bad, too!
I guess her most defining...
Oh,
okay, so...
That's so...
To go back to the original... Yeah, I know, we'll get there. To go back to the original, it's 3 guys, and right away from the opening, they're already partners, they're already scientists, they share a lab together, they're already friends. And it's very quickly drawn, because those actors have such chemistry together, who they are. Peter Venkman, Bill Murray, is the smarty Bugs Bunny who, like, okay, there's a ghost, but I'm in, even though this is nuts. Egon is the scientist who is, like, almost an emotionless person, so he gets to be really quippy and dry. And then Dan Aykroyd as Ray, he gets to be a bit like the Melissa McCarthy character, where he's just, like, wide-eyed, like, this is awesome, ghosts, guys. Very quickly, like 5 minutes in, you know who they are. This one, it takes a while for the 4 of them, 3 of them first, and 4 of them to come together. And then when they do, I guess like 3 of them are fairly well-drawn characters.
Yeah.
But Kristen Wiig's theme seems to be, she's a buttoned-up, you know, not gonna get down. She's too stuffy kind of person. They make a joke about sticks being up her butt early on.
Yeah, very timid.
The only time she ever gets really passionate isn't even like, oh my god, I saw a ghost. The only time she gets really passionate is when she's ogling Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Who is the secretary.
Which they did a nice job of role reversing that whole stereotype, huh? The dumb, cute receptionist.
And for the record, in the movie, in the original, Annie Potts was the secretary, not dumb. Very much quippy, so. But I mean, the thing is, Chris Hemsworth is fucking funny in this movie. While we're on it.
Not that funny.
But he isn't boring. You laughed out loud in his first scene because he wears glasses with no lenses in it, and
was funny.
He goes to scratch his eye through the lens.
But then they kept doing the same bit over
and the thing is,
again.
he always made me laugh. Everything going on around him was really embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, at one point, a joke I liked, he's like, hey, will you get me... Melissa McCarthy's like, would you give me some coffee, please, Kevin? And Kevin brings her some coffee, and she goes, did you get the sugar in it this time? And he goes, and takes a sip. Which I already thought was funny, because, he's just going to taste, because he can't remember. But then he goes, Pah! I hate coffee. But he actually, I did it wrong. He goes, sip, and spits it back into the cup. Like, I hate coffee, but there's sugar in there.
But then...
And then he hands it to Melissa McCarthy, and she puts it down, and Kristen Wiig's like, I'm going to drink that.
Yeah.
I want your man spit in my mouth.
That's so creepy. That's like, she's a grown woman. I can see like a 14-year-old.
She's a grown woman with a PhD. Who's a high school or a college professor.
Like, why are they portraying a woman like that when I was hoping this would be like a nice anthem of like, yeah, women, we're in charge and we can bust ghosts.
Yeah, no.
It's not that at all.
So they established early on that I guess what could have been a theme, there was a lot of moments where I was like, deleted scenes probably. Stuff they cut out to make the movie run faster. The big, like, emotional thread, because they needed one, I guess, for this one. Ghostbusters doesn't really have one. It's just, they're gonna go solve ghosts.
Yeah.
The Sigourney Weaver of it all, she's their first customer, her apartment's being haunted, and Bill Murray, of course, is into her right away.
Oh, okay.
And to be fair, that movie is 1984, and it's very much like, he wants to fuck her, and no respect, and, you know, all the things that men do, he's just hitting on her, and, you know, all the whole movie. But, that story is, like, she's their first client, then they get famous, and the thing is, that apartment, which you remember you saw her earlier getting dragged into the thing, when you were in my apartment earlier. She was in a chair.
Oh yeah, that was her?
Yeah, that was Sigourney.
Oh, okay.
So, in the first one, Sigourney was introduced, the apartment keeps getting worse and worse in her apartment, and you realize that her apartment is at the epicenter of an ancient Sumerian god that's coming back to life, and the apartment is horrible, and she's getting possessed, and Rick Moranis, who's her neighbor, is also being possessed. And the reason why there are more ghosts around New York is because everything's converging in that apartment.
Okay.
So their first client becomes also the climax, because she gets possessed and they want to go save her, plus Bill Murray wants to fuck her, plus if they don't save her, the city's going to be destroyed.
Okay.
So there's a really nice, subtle, like, you don't really understand at first that that's going to be, the whole story's about that apartment. You just think it's the first thing, and then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Ghostbusters 2016 does not have that through line at all. And the big emotional storyline, I guess, that they were going for, and it's not a bad one. I guess it's cliche, just because I don't like the idea of, like, we're women, and we used to be friends, and we're not anymore, and now we're going to be friends again.
That wasn't the theme at all.
No, but, like, it seems like that was what they wanted to do, because the climax of the movie is, anyway, we'll get there.
Okay.
Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy were high school friends together. They were ghost nerds together. Nobody liked them together. And as the movie begins, they haven't spoken in years. They apparently co-authored a book about how ghosts are real. Kristen Wiig has gone on to true academia and is close to getting tenure when she finds out that her book has been published on Amazon without her consent, so she tracks down Melissa McCarthy to be like, hey, you're gonna fuck up my career. And while she's there, like, seeing Melissa McCarthy for the first time ever, and meeting Kate McKinnon, who is Melissa McCarthy's like sidekick and awesome, they get a call about like, hey, that thing that happened in the opening scene, blah blah blah. So the three of them go off to that haunted house. They see a real ghost, and from that moment forward, they're forged into this thing about ghosts are real. And Melissa McCarthy or Kristen Wiig gets fired because the internet.
Yeah, they saw it on the internet.
Yeah. So that's how things get jump started. And again, all that, if you've seen the original Ghostbusters, similar kind of thing happens. They go, they bust the ghost. They're back at the lab, like, we need to do our stuff, and they're immediately fired for being shitty scientists. Then they start a business. They have to haggle. There was one nice little reversal. They actually buy a firehouse in the original.
Oh.
In this one, they go to a firehouse, and Melissa McCarthy and Kate McKinnon are freaking out. Like, this is amazing! Holy shit, they're doing the fanboy response. And I'll admit, I did smile when I saw the firehouse. Like, yeah, right on. You know, all the trappings of Ghostbusters movies. And then Kristen Wiig, the stuffed shirt, stick up your butt, no fun character, asks, you know, she's squashing the fun right away, is like, so how much is the rent? And the landlord's like, the realtor's like, $21,000 a month. And she was burning hell. I think she goes, $21,000 a month? You have anything more affordable? And then it ends up that their home base for the movie is above a Chinese food restaurant, which is way less visually interesting, but okay, it's not in a firehouse, and it's something that's not what the original did. It's something different. I'm cool with it, it's something different.
Even though they touched on the firehouse?
Yeah, because I'm okay with like I like the idea of fake fan service, where like you think you're seeing up the audience, like, get ready to squeal, guys, we're doing the thing. And instead it's like, nope, we're going this way.
It's 2016 and rent is really expensive.
Right, particularly in like a huge fucking firehouse, you know?
This ain't 1984 anymore.
Right. So then we meet the three, we hang with the three of them for a while, and Kate McKinnon is a techno nerd, and she's just, I don't remember what song she was lip syncing, but it was awesome.
Some Devo song.
Because if it wasn't Devo, it was some other
Yeah,
band.
she was like, I thought that was Devo.
Right. And she's a tech nerd, and she's singing while lighting shit on fire, while also dancing and putting it out with the fire extinguisher. And meanwhile, fucking, what's her name? Kristen Wiig is over there like, oh, we're gonna sing? Oh, okay, I'm the boring one.
And then Melissa McCarthy comes over and she's like, hey.
She loves that song.
She's singing again.
Yeah, so while all that's going on, we're sort of getting to know these women, and I guess rooting for them. Like, you don't want to see them fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Chris Hemsworth shows up, and he's one joke. I'm the pretty dumb guy, but
yeah,
that joke was funny every time, pretty much. In the midst of all that, we get something new, which I really liked. So the fourth Ghostbuster in the original is also a black guy, well, a black person, Ernie Hudson, who, I forgot about him. Ernie Hudson shows up at the very end of the new Ghostbusters. Ernie Hudson shows up midway through the original Ghostbusters just because they're hiring. He's not like related to them, he didn't see a ghost, nothing. And the secretary's like, it's like, oh, are you here for the interview? And he's yeah, I'm here to be one of those Ghostbuster people. And she's like, okay, just answer some questions. Do you believe in spirituality, Bigfoot, possession, reincarnation, long list of all this stuff. And then it cuts to him and he's like, for a steady paycheck, I'll believe whatever you want. That's his big catchphrase line of the movie. So he's just thrown in as like another guy.
Yeah.
In this case, they did a way cooler thing, which they introduced Leslie Jones, who is, her and Kate McKinnon, easily the best parts of the movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Leslie Jones is a like token giver in the subway in New York. And the first time we see her, she's being happy, just like, hey, how you doing? What train you doing? She's just trying to engage and make her shitty job better. And then she sees the villain of sorts come by. This really creepy dude is murmuring about like the fourth apocalypse. And they didn't introduce him, he wasn't set up, he just happened to be there. Like, there's the bad guy, I guess. He wanders off down the tunnel of the subway, and she goes after him. And while she's down there, she sees a ghost. So she goes to track down the other three. Hey, there's a ghost, let me show you where it is. They see the ghost, they break out the proton packs for the first time, which admit, same thing, goosebumps. Like, holy shit, fucking proton packs. And it is exciting to see the three of them like, how's this shit work? They even do the same bit, although less well done. In this one, remember, they put on the proton pack and they click it on and it goes, and the other women start to sidle away from her because, like, it might explode. Same jokes in the original Ghostbusters, but I appreciated the nod this time. In the original, they're like, well, we never get a chance to field test this. Anyway, too late now, switch me on. And they're in an elevator and they click on Dan Aykroyd. This is very loud, chugga chugga chugga, and just very subtly Bill Murray and the other guy are just like, so I appreciate a small reference like that, because this is a whole different scenario, but we're going to tag up that one thing. That's fine. So they do the ghost, they don't capture it because the technology doesn't work. This movie has sort of an Iron Man vibe to it, the first Iron Man, where it's all about getting the technology to work right, so you see various incarnations of it throughout, and in the climax, it finally works just right. So they go back to their Chinese food base of recreations, and Leslie Jones is just there on a laptop. And they're like, this isn't a club, it's a serious scientific community. And she's like, yeah, I know, and you guys know technology. Well, I know New York. And she does. She's a history buff. She likes the city. She knows all about these old buildings. So just based on the fact that, like, they need a fourth one, I guess, they're like, all right, you're in. And from that moment forward, for the next 30 minutes or so, I really enjoyed the movie. Where they're testing equipment. The whole first time out thing, in the original, they go to a hotel and they meet Slimer. That's what the show's at the end.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of good jokes about, like, the proton packet switched on. Don't cross the streams, because if you do, it'll cause a total plutonic reversal, and the world could end. All that's set up. And they catch the ghost, and it's like, holy shit, we got him. In this case, they end up at a rock concert where Ozzy Osbourne shows up for some reason. But beyond the Ozzy Osbourne cameo, it's a really fucking cool sequence, because they do the let's split up thing, and each one of them kind of gets their own moment to be funny. Like Kate McKinnon as like a mannequin head.
Oh yeah, that made me laugh.
She's got a wig and the glasses. Leslie Jones is wandering around by herself, and she's like, they're all dressed up. And she, by the way, Leslie Jones also provides the uniforms because she works in the subway, so she stole some like coveralls. And she provides the Ecto 1, the car, because her uncle, who turns out to be Ernie Hudson, owns a funeral home. So they get a hearse, which again I like that. The original was an old ambulance, so it's like it still totally looks like the Ecto 1, but it's not the same car. Different but the same. Awesome. So they do the whole thing. They're going to catch the ghost, and they play the Ghostbusters theme, but in a horrible remix style. That was bad. What's the band's name?
I don't know if that was them.
Okay.
I just noticed in the end credits that Walk the Moon did a version of that song.
Yeah.
And they're a popular pop band, and I like their music normally, so...
That was a bummer. So they go to this rock concert, and they split up, and Sherwood Jones walks around muttering to herself in this dark hallway, like under the bowels of the stage. And she's like, oh, if I signed up for this, like I thought we were just going to do some stuff. I was going to help with the buildings and the history. And then she peeks into this room that's full of mannequins. And she's like, yep, see? Room full of nightmares. Not going in there. She turns around and walks out. And then there's the bit from the trailer where she turns back and the mannequin starts following her. She's like, was that mannequin there before? And then she's like, please don't answer. Please don't answer. And the mannequin starts chasing her. That thing turns into this big bird. It attacks the lead singer at the metal show they're at, which... You'd think that'd be a good cameo. Let's get, like, a popular musician.
Oh, absolutely.
Instead it was some dude I've never heard of and some band I've never heard of.
I can't remember.
So the ghost attacks the musician, and the Ghostbusters have to take the stage, which I like is a nice change. In the original, there's nobody around. It's just the three of them on their own capturing the first ghost. In this case, they put right on the spot. There's a huge audience. Everyone's got their phones out, and they have to capture their first ghost in front of people. And they do, and it made me want to cheer. It's also got maybe the funniest moment in the movie, which was in the trailer, which is when she stage dives. It's like, I don't know if it's a race thing or a woman thing, but I'm mad as hell. So they catch their ghost. In the midst of all this, the bad guy we saw at the subway, do you remember him at all? What happens with him?
What happens with the bad guy? So we find out that he's, also classic cliche, because he's been bullied his whole life, so now he wants to be
I forgot about
his
that.
own
He monologues,
bully.
yeah.
He monologues. He's a bellboy at a hotel, and what he's basically doing is setting up these little electronic things.
Yeah, apparently there's like these ghosts. You know how in Pokemon Go you can set some bait and then the Pokemon will show up?
It's
Similar
the
kind
same
of thing. He's got
The
these
ghosts
little
come
things.
there. And did you notice the ghost in the subway had like electrocution things on him, because Leslie's character was talking about how
Patty.
above there was a
The first executions with electricity in New York. So yeah,
so that was consistent.
they tied it in.
But yeah, what else about the bellboy?
Well, what happens, after they catch their first ghost? Then what happens?
After they catch their first ghost, let's see here. Well, basically what happens is they find out that he's at the hotel.
No. Not yet. Not yet. So what happens
Are you
is...
sure?
Yeah, I am. So he puts more of those things around. We keep seeing him by himself, not really interacting with anybody. Although Shirley Jones, Patty saw him earlier.
He's like monologuing.
What happens is Bill Murray shows up. Remember? And he's like, you guys are totally not real ghost people things.
They
And then,
show up at the girls'...
Yeah, Bill Murray shows up at the girls' Chinese food hangout.
Okay.
And then your most hated scene in the movie happens, where the women start bickering with each other for no reason.
Oh, the FBI shows up.
No, this is even before. Well, that happened. They do it again later, but this is just when Bill Murray's there. And Bill Murray's like, Bill Murray's like, I want to see the ghost. And Kristen Wiig's like, okay, I'll release it. And Melissa McCarthy's like, no, don't release the ghost.
Why couldn't they just have
They
these
literally
women?
got this.
Why?
They literally start doing this.
Yeah.
Two grown-ass women start doing a tug of war.
This is a huge problem I have with this movie. Like, why can they not make these women like grown-ups and like act like adults so that we can see them as that, and that they're not just laughing stocks, right? I mean, I get that this is supposed to be a comedy, but
Well, I mean, that leads me back into the whole original versus remake thing. people forget because a lot of us grew up with it, so we saw it at a young age, and it's very tame by today's standards, but like, that movie is not a children's film.
Yeah.
It's not by any means profane or too scary, but like, the characters all act like adults. There are, there's a few kind of sexual jokes in there. And it's not meant for children. The second one gets way, way like, remember when we did this the last time? Like, honestly, Ghostbusters 2 and the new Ghostbusters, very similar problems. It's all just like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We're going to up the ante because now we have better effects. Remember we did it the last time, and also let's make it even sillier. Whereas the first one was legitimately like a paranormal mystery plot that happened to have 3 funny people in it.
Okay.
They're funny, but like, it wasn't a comedy movie. The only jokes in that movie were coming from the characters' interactions. Not even jokes, just the way they interact.
Yeah.
Then the cartoons happened, it became a phenomenon, Slimer became a cult figure, you can probably drink Ecto-1, or Ectoplasm, which is like a high-C juice box. So when they're relaunching the brand, it's like, the studio was like, you have to make it for kids. You have to make it completely family-friendly, this should be a big, family movie. And I'm just not sure it should be, and if it is, you definitely don't want to get the guy who directed Bridesmaids. Right?
Basically.
Because
maybe that's why the writing is so bad, you think?
I think so, yeah, because also those actresses, like, those 4 actresses are very funny, and I feel like a lot of probably the stuff that made us laugh most in the movie was probably shit they improv'd.
Probably.
The thing is, like, we've seen them on SNL, we've seen them in other movies, they're grown-ups, and the shit they want to improv, I'm sure there's probably fucking reams of footage, reams is the wrong term, reels of footage, they shot it digitally, there's probably files of footage of them riffing that could never be used in the movie because it was too hardcore, R-rated, or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
And they had to make it as family-friendly as possible. Example, in that early scene where Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy meet for the first time and they bicker over the book, they're like, come here, we have a recording of a ghost. And they play this recording and they have her come over. And the 3 of them lean in and you're expecting, as a fan, you're like, oh, well, maybe they're going to do we're going to hear the first supernatural thing. So they're all leaning in, everything is really quiet, the score's like, nah, and then, fart joke, 4 minutes into the movie. Woof. That was bad.
Did anyone in the theater laugh?
No, there was a lot of awkward silences.
Oh, absolutely.
And we had some dumb people behind us in the theaters.
Oh, they were laughing a shit ton at some of the things.
And their phones were going off.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
The noise that I made the most was...
Yeah.
It was just so long.
Except I don't even know what the runtime was. My guess is it's probably less than 2 hours.
Yeah, I know, but it would feel long.
So, anyway, Bill Murray shows up and he's like, show me this ghost. And Melissa McCarthy's like, no, we're not going to do that. And Kristen Wiig's like, yeah, we are, because we're bickering, because women like to bicker. So they release the ghost, it fucks up Bill Murray, and flies away, and then kind of stays away for a while. Then they start talking about...
Oh, it knocks him out, though.
It knocks Bill Murray out the window.
Yeah.
But we don't even see him land.
He did.
Yeah, we don't even see him land. Anyway. Then...
It's a family-friendly movie.
Yeah, then we kind of get this montage of, like, them doing stuff, and there's a recurring bit where the mayor, who's played by Andy Garcia, was like, what the fuck are you doing here, Andy Garcia? He keeps thanking them, like, thank you so much, we're gonna pretend you don't exist. We're gonna keep saying you're fake on the press, we're gonna keep calling you, phonies, thank you for saving the city over and over again, but we're gonna keep denying all
Also,
this.
shout out to his mayor's
Yeah,
assistant.
who is she? She was funny
That's
too.
Cecily Strong, and she's also on...
Hello, and welcome back to the Ghostbusters review. So the camera died. I'm still stupid and haven't been doing this in a while, so all my technical skills and planning are out the window at the moment. So battery died in the middle of me and Rachel talking about it. It is the next day. Rachel went home, obviously, and she was getting bored talking about it anyway. She didn't like that movie very much. It's honestly, that's the worst thing you can say about it, is it's mostly just kind of forgettable. Like, it's a movie that happened. So I'm here with Willow. We're going to finish things out. I'm going to finish up the plot summary and just kind of very quickly tell you the other things I liked and disliked. In the future, too, we'll try and watch these, try and do the reviews sooner after seeing the movie. The problem was we saw the movie, then there was traffic on the way home, so we went to get food and we wandered around Barnes & Noble, and 3 hours went by before we finally got back here to talk about it. And honestly, Ghostbusters 2016, besides the fact that I have an internet show, isn't worth talking about that long. So I believe in the plot synopsis I left off with the whole Bill Murray showing up and Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy releasing the ghost. So they do that. Then they find the X, they're making little marks on the map of all the ghost sightings, and the 2 lines sync up to make an X, which apparently is something about ley lines. Don't know if that's true or not. And based on that, they see that the 2 X's, the 2 lines of paranormal activity, converge on a specific spot in New York that's a hotel. And when they look up a picture of the hotel staff, Shirley Jones sees the creepy guy who, has been setting up all the ghost bait things around city. So they go down there, they confront him, he kills himself. And then, they shut down his machine that's going to create ghost apocalypse or whatever. Once again, the mayor writes them off. And from there, we're kind of into the third act. It's really real jerky. Like the end of the second act is that, I guess, and kind of right away we're into the third one. As you've seen in the trailers, they gave it away. Chris Hemsworth does become the bad guy of sorts. The whole movie he's been doing one joke and not really showing any affection for his co-workers, his bosses, nor any real interest in the paranormal. But out of nowhere, he shows up and he says, "I want to be a Ghostbuster," and he's wearing the jumpsuit and, the whole thing. So it turns out the ghost of the dude who is the bad guy, who's dead now, he possesses Melissa McCarthy. That's also in the trailer. Patty smacks the shit out of her and the ghost goes flying out the window. And then inhabits, possesses Chris Hemsworth. And from there on in, it's kind of, a race to the finish where Chris Hemsworth takes over. He goes back to the hotel, turns the machine back on, which the machine is going to, surge up all the ghost power in the city, freeze up all the ghosts, and this huge cloud erupts out of the building, as you saw in the trailer, shrouding New York City in darkness, and, just a plague, a swarm of ghosts hit the city. And our four leads, our four Ghostbuster gals, they get all suited up, they get their Efta 1, they drive out, and they're ready to do some badass trailer footage. Admittedly, it's a pretty cool sequence. The CGI wasn't too problematic. The whole movie actually looks pretty good. They could have gone way heavier on the CGI, and they didn't. There are more practical effects than I would have expected, and I like that. A lot more sets and, detail and production design. I appreciate that. So the climax is the four women, taking out all the ghosts, and they're doing it in thoroughly badass ways because earlier, as I mentioned, the kind of through line of the movie isn't character-based, it's mostly technology-based. So it's like, hey, we have a proton pack, it doesn't work. Hey, we're in an alley testing out new things, like I have a glove that punches stuff, and it makes a fireball explode. I have a vacuum/shredder that sucks ghosts up and turns them into ghost powder. Whatever. So all that stuff gets used in the climax. Every girl, every woman gets their own moment to kind of be badass. In particular, Kate McKinnon as Holtzman. Best character in the movie. She's kind of surrounded by all these ghosts, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot, my new toys." And these fucking, from out of the back of her proton pack, these two, pistol-looking things pop out, as you saw in the trailer where she licks one of them. And then she goes in this awesome slow-motion, blowing the fuck out of ghosts sequence. And there's a really cool cover of the Ghostbusters theme, and she's doing it, and you just want to cheer because it's awesome. My only problem with this whole ending, really, well, two. One is just a nerd boy problem, which is, if you're going to do a fantasy film, horror, magic-related, whatever it is, there's got to be some rules, and you have to follow them. In the original Ghostbusters, I was explaining this to Rachel, they do explain the rules. Obviously, there's a bit of wonky science where it's like, you can capture a ghost with a proton pack, but I'll buy that, okay. And once the ghost is captured, it's secured in a box. Then at the end, when the dick from the EPA shuts down the box, all the ghosts are set free. In this one, they still can capture ghosts in a box, but they only do it once. And when they use their proton packs and their punchy gloves and their, laser pistol things and their ghost shredder, the ghosts, the big CGI cartoon ghosts kind of go poof and turn into, ectoplasm, I guess? But they're not dead, right? I don't understand what happened. I don't know why they can't just reform and become ghosts. But that's just in my head. I'm just like, so wait, what happened? That bothers me. But it was still a cool sequence. Rachel did want me to mention that despite all of her issues with all the female cliches of, best friends can't stop bickering, and they wear heels, and Kristen Wiig is way too into Chris Klein, even though they're grown-up. Grown-up women shouldn't be acting that way. She did say she liked at the end when the four of them finally got to have their big glory moment, and they come together and fight. Also, Chris Hemsworth is fantastic as the villainy guy. He's really engaging and charming. Over the end credits is Chris Hemsworth leading a big dance. He's on the roof, on a marquee above a theater, and he's leading a group dance, he's controlling them. That's a really fun way to end the movie. The other thing I didn't like about the climax is we do see Slimer again. And they build it up, there's a food truck, there's hot dog carts, the camera's pushing in. all the Ghostbusters are like, uh-oh, what could be in there? And hey, it's Slimer, which is fine, fan service, I knew who was going to be in it. He looks a little wonky to me, CGI creation, which is fine, I guess. The big issue is he steals the Ecto-1, which I thought was kind of funny, like, alright, fuck it, Slimer's off on his own adventure. Later on, mid-dramatic moment of like, how are we going to stop the Doomsday device? The Ecto-1 comes flying back into frame, and it cuts inside, and now Slimer's got himself a Slimer girlfriend, so it's exactly the same design, but she's got lipstick. That felt honestly, that felt like the same kind of pandering to me that when they announced Ghostbusters with all women. It was like, why would you do that? But okay, now there's 2 of them, I guess. And the Ecto-1 does become important. They established that the Ecto-1 has, a nuclear reactor on its roof. So when Slimer drives off, they can't shoot at it because it may explode. So the hotel with the Doomsday Ghost machine all collapses into this big swirling whirlpool of awfulness into, the other world where the ghosts are coming from. And all the ghosts are surging out of there. The only way to stop it is to create such a massive surge of energy that it could reverse the polarity. And they're going to do the same thing like crossing the streams in the original. They're going to do a total plutonic reversion or whatever it is. And the way they do that is they force, they use their power packs to narrow the road so Slimer is forced to drive the Ecto-1 into the big vortex. They shoot it, the car goes boom, and the vortex closes, sucking in all the bad guys. Speaking of bad guys, as you saw in the trailer, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man does have a little cameo. That was fine, it's a parade float that's come to life, I was okay with that. The thing is, the big final giant Godzilla-like monster, as you saw in the trailer, it's the Ghostbusters ghost, from the logo, the circle with the line. It's that ghost grown giant, and that bothered me too. That felt like really lazy network writing, like, we need a bad guy for the ending, we're spending money on this, what should it be? They had the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, should we do something else like that? Should it be like, the Chester Cheeto is the bad guy, or what should we do? It's like, well, how about we just take the ghost from the logo and make it big and crappy looking? So they do that. Speaking of that, way earlier in the movie, I forgot to mention about the Ghostbusters logo. As you saw in the trailer, it's graffiti art. In the trailer, that was actually kind of a cool image. It felt iconic and nostalgic, and also felt, underground, and like, what are these things? The rebirth, the origin story of the Ghostbusters, if you will. In the movie, it's literally, there's a dude, the character from Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, the funny one. I don't want to describe Studio 60 right now. He's a graffiti artist who's always hanging out in Shirley's subway station, and they've been having trouble picking a logo for their company. And he says, they're like, hey, sir, graffiti guy, have you seen a ghost? And he goes, oh yeah, I have. And they're like, what did it look like? He's like, what did it look like? And he starts spraying off camera, like, pss, 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 pss. And Shirley Jones is doing her like, hey, stop it, man, that ain't your wall. That ain't polite. How'd you like if I come into your house? And then, of course, they walk away, and it's, he's doing this, and then it's like, hey, no spraying on my walls. Don't spray ghosts on my walls. And the graffiti guy's like, oh, no ghosts? Okay. And you see him go, psst. Okay. So they walk by, and it's like, that's where they get the logo from. I don't know, that felt a little bit too forced in there, but whatever, it seemed to be in there, I'm okay with that. That's just nitpicking, because it's the internet and that's what this is for. So that ghost from the Ghostbusters logo gets all giant-y, and it's Chris Hemsworth can take any form, and there was a little subtle nod to like, what form would you prefer I take? And he turns into, a big ghost. The way that they stop him, well, he gets sucked into the vortex after they blow up the Ecto-1, but the way they stop him the first time, no, I take that back. He's gonna be sucked into the vortex, but he's too strong. So Melissa McCarthy's like, alright, let's light him up. And they're gonna shoot him, with their fucking guns, their proton packs, and make him weaker. So Melissa McCarthy goes, shoot him where it hurts, shoot him where you should, shoot him with a non-specific thing I'm yelling. And all the women shoot him in the nuts. Or in the vague crotch-like area of the ghost. Nobody laughed in my theater. I mean, it wasn't very packed, it was on a Monday, but like, I don't know, if you're gonna, it's like Rachel was saying yesterday, if you're gonna do this whole female-empowered women Ghostbusters thing, maybe try to avoid cliches like that, and maybe also, like, don't do childish shit like fart jokes, and anyway, so they shoot the Ghostbuster thing in the nuts. And Patty's like, that's what you meant to shoot, right? And one of the cars is like, yeah, shoot him in the nuts, because we're women, and whatever. So he gets sucked into the vortex, and Melissa McCarthy gets dragged in after her. And this is where the whole idea of the subplot, maybe what should have been the main thrust of the movie, of Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig's friendship that got broken and is now coming back together, should have had a little more time spent on it, because Melissa McCarthy's dragged down into Hell Dimension or whatever, and Kristen Wiig grabs a cable and ties it around her waist, and she goes diving in after her. And then we're in just full-on CGI land. But it's still cool. It is, you know, I like those actresses enough to believe that, like, when they say they're friends, I believe they're friends, even though we don't see it. So Melissa McCarthy risks everything to save her, not Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig risks everything to save her friend. You know, they do the whole holding hands amidst the blue, and they get pulled back into New York City streets, where everything is fine. The hotel has rebuilt itself. You get the awesome moment where the four women are like, holy shit, we did it! Woo! For some reason, being in the Deathland turned their hair white, Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig. And in the end, they've got wigs or dyed hair. I don't know what that's about. Maybe they're setting up something for the next movie. Or maybe they just wanted to have something visual happen. I don't know, that seemed a little weird. Once again, the mayor is like, hey, this didn't really happen, but thank you. Chris Hemsworth is no longer possessed. He's back to being stupid old Chris Hemsworth secretary guy. More jokes with that. And that's essentially where the movie ends. Then over the credits we see more snippets of stuff, like in the trailer there's that shot where it's like, look, I built a bear trap out of lasers. Chink. That's in the closing things, because now they've got more money. The mayor says, look, I'm still going to deny your existence, but you did save the city from a real big thing this time, so you're going to be a fully funded secret organization. So now Kate McKinnon's character, Holtzman, now she's got all this money to play with, so she's making even bigger and better toys. Presumably for the sequel, which I honestly do hope happens. I'll get to that in my final thoughts. I do want a sequel. What else we see in the snippets? We do see a really nice moment where the four Ghostbusters are at a bar, and they're having a pitcher of beer, and they're celebrating like, well, we did it, guys, now what do we do? And out of nowhere, Holtzman, Kate McKinnon's like, all right, I'm gonna give a toast. Everybody, I'm gonna give a toast. I'm gonna give a toast. And the other three are like, all right, here we go. Expecting it to be more some kind of science-y, weird gibberish. And instead, Kate McKinnon just drops the mic in this amazing moment where she's not looking at anybody, but she's still talking really fast. And she's like, I just want to say that, like, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and, like, I've always thought it was kind of weird. And when I met Abby, who is Melissa McCarthy's character, when I met Abby, I thought she was the only person who would ever be my friend because she accepted me for who I was. And now I feel like I have this family, and you guys are all great, and cheers. It was a really endearing moment. That character all the way through, I really like that character. All the women have great performances, but like, that character, I've never seen that kind of character done that way before. So, I give the fullest props to the writers, and most likely to Kate McKinnon for, you know, coming up with that screwball, nutty, lovable character. She is absolutely the character that, like, if I was a 5-year-old girl, I'd want to be here for Halloween. Fuck it, I'm a 27-year-old dude, and I want to be here for Halloween. Like, she's awesome. We see that moment, then we see a really nice little sweet thing at the very end, not very end of the credits, but like the very end of the thing that happens during the credits, which is, they're talking about shit about, like, we're gonna have new toys, and hi, I'm Sigourney Weaver in a cameo, and Shirley Jones is like, guys, come up to the roof, you gotta see this, and they go up on the roof of their new building, which they get the firehouse, and that made me happy, like, okay, cool, they saved the firehouse for the end, so it's a total origin story, now they've got their firehouse. They go up to the roof of the firehouse, and all of the city, they can see the whole skyline of New York, and all the buildings have their lights turned off in very specific patterns. So it says like, I heart Ghostbuster, I heart GB, or one building just says Ghostbusters, so it's like each window is part of the letter. So like, even though it's been covered up, the whole city does know about them, and they've been embraced, and their story is done, and we did it, guys, we're heroes. That was a nice ending. Despite everything else, the movie does end fairly well. Last thing to talk about is there's an end credits scene where Shirley Jones is listening to headphones for, you know, recordings and stuff, the fart joke from earlier, and she goes, hang on guys, I hear something, and they're like, what? And she goes, what's Zool? Which, as we all know, is the plot of the original Ghostbusters. It was a cute little nod, it made me smile. I hope if they get a sequel, which, you know, I hope they get a sequel, I hope they don't do Zool, I hope it's a whole new thing, like, fuck it, do something else completely different. Honestly, I loved Force Awakens way more than I loved Ghostbusters 2016, but I have the same worry about Episode 8 of Star Wars. Force Awakens was like a very familiar story about a girl, you know, a person on a planet who gets found and goes on an adventure and the mentor dies. Full on, it's very much, you know, A New Hope again. Now that you've reset everything and we're back in the world, don't do Empire Strikes Back for Episode 8. Go somewhere completely different. I'm there, we're there. Even though I like Ghostbusters 2016 less, I still believe they did set the world up. I believe those characters. I'm in. I like the show. I like the movie enough to want to see a sequel. It probably wasn't worth seeing in theaters beyond the nostalgia factor or the possible it could have been a train wreck factor. If you haven't seen it yet, and you're curious, and what I've just described to you doesn't sound like too bad of a thing, it's totally worth your time. If you have young girls, go take them to see it, because it is a cool thing just to see. And that's the thing, it's like that's on the social part of it, it's like it is a thing. We very rarely see a movie with, like, it's just 4 women being awesome and funny the whole time. Some of the jokes fall flat, some of the inconsistencies in the plot don't make sense, some of the rules don't quite matter, but like, so what? If this movie was 4 dudes doing it, if it was like, I don't know, Ed Helms and 3 of his buddies, if it was the 4 guys from The Hangover doing a Ghostbusters movie, it would have made a shit zillion dollars, and it could have been just as lame and stupid and had just as many problems as this one did, but it would have made money because men. So if you have daughters, particularly daughters who are into sci-fi or paranormal stuff or, you know, genre movies, take them, because it's a cool thing to see. Particularly for that Holtzman character. Kate McKinnon is awesome. To sum it up, I'm pretty much going to say I'm going to ape a little review I read. The problem with this movie is it spends too much time nodding at the original, not doing its own thing, and essentially it becomes a story about proton packs, as opposed to a character-driven story where the humor is derived from those interactions. That's pretty much it. I mean, when the jokes work, they work. I mean, go figure. It's talented people, talented director. It's not... Of course, there's going to be some laughs in it, but... Yeah, if you are a big Bridesmaids fan, and you're going to go see it because of that, not going to be your thing. This is very family-friendly. The worst it gets is occasional, a fart joke, and... I mean, Kristen Wiig wants to fuck Chris Hemsworth, but she never says that. It's all done in a very playful, 3rd grade kind of, I've got a crush on him kind of way. So, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say. I've been talking for a while. I know Rachel and I went on for a while. I hope you're digging our show. I'm going to put this video up later today, along with some other episodes I have in reserve. So if you want to check more of me and Rachel's thing out, we'll be in the, probably in the video description, recommended videos. You can click on the channel and see some stuff. There'll be a playlist. Sorry this was not more engaging. Honestly, I thought it'd be a great idea to do this episode, talk about Ghostbusters, because she's a girl and I'm a guy, so we can get that dimension of it, and she never saw the original and I did. But really, it's just thoroughly, a movie happened. Beyond the fact that there's all this controversy over it being women, and why is there controversy over there being women? God damn. Anyway, decide the fact there's controversy over there being women in the movie, and because it's a remake, beyond that, it's just any other fucking movie. It's just any other forgettable PG-13 thing. Like, honestly, this movie's like Tomorrowland, the George Clooney flick. I love that movie. The Brad Bird movie, but same kind of thing. Like, that movie came out, people saw it, some people hated it, some people loved it, and then it was forgettable. This is the same kind of thing. It's just a tentpole movie that didn't do as well as it should have. So, yeah, it's harmless. Once again, I know I said it last night when I was with Rachel, but if you're bitching because there's women Ghostbusters, go get a life, dude. It's gotta be a dude. There's no girl out there bitching about it. Just go, fuck you. They're funny, it doesn't matter. Jesus. Wow, does that not matter? So that's my take on Ghostbusters 2016. We will be back with our next episode probably in a few days. Next time I'm letting Rachel pick the thing. She's going to pick the stuff to watch because I'm way more movie guy than she is, so usually it's probably going to be me kind of forcing her to sit through stuff she has an interest in. Next time, though, she's picking the movie, and it's a movie I haven't seen since I was a very little kid. So I'm excited. There's going to be some nostalgia reviews, a little bit of a tease for next episode. Thank you for watching. If Rachel was here, I'm sure she'd say thank you for watching. And yeah, go check out Ghostbusters. It's harmless. And when it comes to Netflix, watch it there, whatever. Everybody needs to at least check the movie out. And I hope there's a sequel. I really do. I hope it makes money overseas or on DVD. I really do want to see more of those characters. So, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
You're so happy. What? Serious face.